Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my sew-in, Sue's Sew-In. I'm one of the owners of Gruber's Quilt Shop, along with my husband, Gene Poser, who is behind me. He's the noise.
Actually, I'm in front of you.
Oh, that's right. Oh, well. All right. Gene's handling the camera. We are in my sewing room, which means it's Wednesday night. And the first Wednesday of every month, we are going to be doing one of the table runners from Heather Mulder's new book, Trendy Table 3. It's an awesome book. The other book, the very first book, somebody won it last week, so remind me of who you are because I have it at the store for you. Because see, we made a boo-boo last week. We kind of left it in our inventory, so somebody bought it. Thank goodness. Heather came through and she had one at home, so we had the book at the store for somebody who shared and won. So just have to remind me of that. So there is a number 2 book that is still in stock, and this one is, you can find it on our Sue's Facebook faves or also on Gruber's Quilt Shop. So it's a great little book with a lot of different runners. There are 15 different runners in here, all awesome. I have my favorites, everybody does. And now, last week she just had number 3 printed, and number 3 is awesome, the best, great, super, wonderful. How many more exploratives can I use, or how many adjectives should I use on it? So anyway, we are going to do number 1 tonight, which is heart. This one, the beautiful heart. Heart to heart. And you know what's really fun about this one? It is the beginning, it's like my beginning quilt class. So here we go, students. Let's get started. We are going to be making 36 of these. These encompass 2.5 inch squares and 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. That makes your heart right there. Then you have 1.5 inch squares that go on the corners. So you can use that 4 times the corner, basically corner cutters to make your heart. And then you have another 2.5 inch square of the red, which forms, Jean will show you in a minute, behind me is, it gives an optical illusion and brings in another pattern, which is way cool. So tonight we are working on this originally, and then we'll go to that. So we'll do the whole table runner because it's actually very easy, but it's a really great way to skill up your quilting skills. So 2.5 inch square is here. So I'm going to take a little 1.5 inch square in the corner. So there are many different ways we can sew this on. Number 1, this is a new tool by Creative Grids, and I love this thing. So there's grippy on the back of it, or it's grippy. So I didn't spray grippy on it. There's grippy things on it. And there's really a lot of them. It's just covered in it. So when I put it on the, look at that, on the fabric, it really sticks to it super well. And it has nothing to do with its great Quilter Select mat that I have it on. So I can put it on my yucky old OmniGrid. Did you guys hear me say that? Yeah, you did. So it goes on here. So I'll show you. And put it in the corner. Usually the fabrics stick to each other quite well. So when I put this on here, see how it still sticks on it? It's just wonderful. So this wonderful little tool by Creative Grids has grippy on the back, and it has the 45 inch corners, so I know I'm straight. So if I want to go down the middle's right there. So now if I want to do my sewing line, which is going to be right down the middle.
Is that a special pen?
Yeah, I'm sorry guys, this is a friction pen.
How did they get this little crafty ruler and friction pen and things that you're showing?
You go to grubersquiltshop.com and you'll find Sue's Facebook faves. This is our friction pen, which you guys know that I love. Because if I draw it on anything, I can take my iron and just go over it and it disappears. Friction pens are wonderful to give you stitching lines because they're going to go away on you. So I can either, number 1, draw my line on here. So I'll follow my angle and draw my line. Should see it right there. So that's my stitching line because I'm going to be turning it over. It's a folded corner. So that's one way to do it. Another way, Creative Grids has this really great ruler out that shows all these different sizes. This is Jill's favorite tool because it has all these different sizes, so you can make flying geese, everything else. It's really a great tool. So it does basically 3 different things. So you can do your half square triangles, which is what it's famous for, folded corners, which is another thing it does. It's just a really great tool, or a square and a square. So a great little ruler. I believe it's $16.99. It's on Sue's Facebook page, so look there. So if I do this, I basically follow. First of all, you put it on right. That would be most helpful. And I'm going to, this is my follow it right here. And I'm basically going to, I'm going to be making a 1.5.
You want to stitch it first, don't you?
I'm going to, well, that's the wonderful thing about this. Here's my little dotted line through here. So if I cut this, I don't have to cut it again. So now that this is cut, I can go to my sewing machine, and 1/4 inch over is my stitching line. So I move it over to my little machine.
And you've removed excess.
Yes.
By that.
It's already done, which is really cool. So that's a wonderful way of doing it, and then you just have to remember to throw your stuff away. So always keep a handy dandy little thing like that. So that's another way of doing it. Another way, which is my favorite way, because I have this much patience, so I'd like things to go quickly. So if I can do that, you guys all know how I absolutely love my seam guide. This is my little tape. This has my perfect 1/4 inch seam allowance in there. So if I take that, I have to find my 1/4 inch seam allowance first. So the first thing you have to do is find your 1/4 inch on your machine. And remember, I used to be the beginning quilt teacher at Gruber's. So this wonderful tool by Perkins Dry Goods has a nice little hole right there. And that's a 1/4 inch. This is a 1/4 inch right here. So if I take this to my machine, and that little hole, if I drop my needle down, right there is my 1/4 inch. So if I have this running, it's following my tape right there. See how it does that? So if I want to, if I'm a really beginner quilter, there is this wonderful little tape right here that has a little raised edge to it. And I don't know if you can see that, Gino.
Hold it still. And then turn it a little bit sideways. And then give a side profile. Angle it so that we see the side of it.
Right there?
Somewhere, yep.
Okay. Because Peter loved this today when I showed it. Peter, who works in the store, if you guys have met him, he's like, oh my gosh, it's raised. He said, because I always use painter's tape. But painter's tape is like this. You can just run right over it and don't realize you ran over it. But this actually raises so your fabric knows when I'm running next to it that I'm hitting it. Because if I'm putting my fabric along here, there's an edge there, which is really great if you're a beginning quilter. So I've now found my 1/4 inch. So I take this back off. I no longer have to use it, but it's amazing how often you really do use it. Put your foot back on if that is the case on your machine. And all of our machines are different with that respect. So I just have to put this back on. Yep, I just have to put it back on, and you guys are all watching me. And the reason I'm using my wonderful old Bernina tonight is, oh.
You okay?
Yeah, it just made noise. It's because I leaned on it. And I found my hole. It's been a long time since I used my favorite old Bernina. Oh, really, Sue?
Because she's got her Janome right there.
It got mad at me.
And we cleaned it day before yesterday. And you see the cover for the bobbin is missing.
Yeah, Sue lost
It's very clear plastic.
I prayed to St. Anthony, you guys. It didn't help. So I think he's humoring. I'm humoring him now.
And I got the wrong one.
There.
I picked one up today, but it was the wrong size.
So we're using my Bernina. So this is a case to you too. It's the beginning of the year. You should clean up underneath your sewing machine. Because what did St. Cloud Sewing Center tell you today?
Well, they get a lot of machines in because there's a lot of people sewing more so with masks than ever before. And they're using machines that haven't been used for a while or whatever, but after a while, when they do need maintenance, they bring them in and they find them up to being totally packed with threads, lint, dust. So if you can clean your machines periodically, and I don't know how often periodically is for everybody, how much they use them.
Okay, so I never cleaned under my machine because I love to get lectured by Richard when he's the dad from St. Cloud Sewing Center. But I took my machine there usually every 6 months for sure. So anyway, I'm just doing the one that was over there before, and all I have to do now is just stitch it. But the Sue's way of doing this would be, all I have to do is follow that line. So that is that one way of doing it. However, my way of doing it is the easy way. So I take a 2.5 inch square, and you do have, these are the extras. So you have a little bit extra when you're done making this particular runner. The only thing you don't have extra is your leftover, your backgrounds. So I know what I forgot to bring home tonight was my silicone fingers so I don't lick my fingers, and it helps me. So what I do basically is, so this is a 1/4 inch right here, right? And this is straight down the middle, which is what I need for this one because I'm doing a folded corner. So I lay my fabrics directly on top of each other, drop my needle, and I stitch. And usually my machine moves. So when I get done, I'm done. And I just have to cut it, trim it, fold it back, and I have a folded corner. That's Sue's way of doing it. Because, I just like fast. I like to, so I'll do all 36 of them this way. Last night I had a huge long tail of a whole bunch of these. And then I just came back and trimmed them and pressed them. So when you press these, obviously, hit them with Best Press. Best Press is my favorite. Take your handy dandy little iron, put it on, let it bake for a little moment, and come back and you put the other side on. So then you have 2 of them. So you have to do that with your square and with your rectangle. So you do 2 corners of this and 2 of this. When I put my little corners on here, I laid them so they were going north and east and west. If you look at these, can you see where these arrows are going? I'm going this way rather than up and down because I want them to end up going up and down. So in order to do that, they have to go sideways first of all, because when I press them back, they're going up and down. Does that make sense to everybody? That's because I have a directional fabric going here, even though it's very minor, you can't see it very well, but you still can. So I have them all going up, and on because my 2.5 inch square here, I'm going to want that going up and down too. So all these little things are going the same direction. And the one place where it didn't go the same direction, and that's why I'm showing you the difference, why you want it to, because my heart is going to be really funky. Because I'm going to have one going this way and one going this way, because these look like fish to me. So these fish are going sideways and these are going out of the water, kind of. So is that crystal clear to everybody? So sideways when I sew it, because then when I sew it sideways when I sew it, my my corner seam, when I open it up, it's going to go up and down. So then I do that with the other one, so I get a square that looks like this, and I also do it to my rectangle. So then I take my 2.5 inch square of my background, and it should lay directly on top of here. And when you have these little flag like that, I will trim that when I'm done. So I sew this on, and then I bring it to my background here. This will lay directly on top of the rectangle, so that when I sew it, and you press this, by the way, to your large piece, the background piece. So put this on, sew this 2 pieces together. When I sew those 2 pieces together, this is what I get, a little heart. And then once you get a heart, you take your ruler and you trim it to 4.5 inches. So I take my Quilter Select ruler, because you guys know how I love these rulers, and when I lay this on here, I need to find 4.5 inches. And remember, I told you guys how much I love Goodwin's little arrows. which I usually have them laying everywhere. Jean, can you grab those pink ones for me? Thank you. These are Goodwin's arrows, and I love her arrows because at 10 o'clock at night you start not remembering what you're supposed to do. It's really a bad thing. Well, it's not. It's called life. So I go to 4.5 inch, which is where I'm going to end up with this. So I put a little arrow right here because I know that's where I want to end up. Maybe. Don't have it stick to your finger. Arrow right there. So there's 4.5 inches because I need a 4.5 inch square. So they lay this on here, follow your lines, 4.5, and trim it. And you guys know how I love Quilter Select rulers because they turn on me on a dime. So they're just so great. So all I have to do is turn it, trim it, all gone, all gone. Turn it the other way. So I've got two sides that are trimmed. Bring it back over. Following my arrows because they're lining up here for me. They're giving me my 4.5 inch square, and I trim. All trimmed, 4.5 inch square, all done. And once I have this one done, you're just really happy because you made it perfectly. So there's my little heart. So you go onward and make 36 of these. They're all you should have 2 of each. Once you're done with those, does everybody get that? Have I missed anything on that, Gino?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Once you have that, you move to you start playing with it. How are you going to lay this out? And that's where it becomes really fun. So we have this wonderful design wall. And it's, Gino, you want to show them it up there? It's wonderful. It sticks super, super well. So it allows you to play with all of your blocks. So now you get to lay it out and look at see the secondary block that it brings in here, that really beautiful red block in the middle. When you're making your hearts, you don't think that that's going to do something like that, but it's so pretty. So now you just have to put your blocks wherever you like them. And basically, I always sew up and down on all of them. And then I come out, when I'm done with that, then I go across. And so remember, I should tell you another thing. These little clippies are priceless. And they're super reasonable. So they're so strong. And when I'm doing this block, when I'm sewing these 2 blocks together, you're going to come, oh, that's not a block. Where's my 2 that are back to back? There. Yep, perfect. Thank you. When I'm sewing these 2 together, I want you to press to this, but when you're laying these on top of here, it's so easy when you have them. You go to your sewing machine and you start doing it, and it's so easy to turn and sew the wrong way. So rather than having it look like this, it's over there. So if you are a beginning quilter and I'm the beginning teacher, this is what I've always told so many students to do. Once you have this, I want you to just clip it, because you're going to clip it on that, you're going to sew it on that side. So I just clip it, add them all up, go and stitch it so you know which side you're doing, so you're not accidentally sewing this. And I'll show you what I mean, because I want it to open up like this to make my heart, because it's so easy to go to your machine and all you're doing is turning around, and all of a sudden, so I stitch it on this side and I have it going the wrong way, but I have to take this apart for you to see that. And that means I have to use my seam ripper. But it's easy for it to go the wrong way.
It's a good reminder of
it is.
Which one to sew.
We have used that so often in my beginning quilt classes, and it's priceless. So these Wonder Clips, they're not, Wonder Clips is a brand name. This is one that we have really super reasonable in the store. If you go on Sue's Facebook's Faves, it'll be listed there right now. It's colorful fabric clips, and they are only $9.99. So, and there's I think you're getting 25 of them in here. 12 of them. 12 for $10. So it's a good deal, and they're very strong. So to do this, basically, it's like going back, this is a wonderful, wonderful technique because it's basically basic stowing. So I love using the Misty ones. These just came in the store. You're going to find these. Best Press is priceless. And actually it was, Peter showed me today, the little funnel, which is really great because some of us can't aim very well. So this allows you to, when you're filling this, you can put this on here and pour it and it's going in. So in case you need to have a better aim, wool mats are invaluable. The cutting mat, I told you, it turns everything on a dime. It's really great. My little steam fast iron, I absolutely love. This is the raised little bed that I told you about, this instead of using painter's tape. But I cut this usually about 3 or 4 times because I don't need that long of a strip. So it lasts you forever. But it's wonderful rather than using painter's tape. So you've got that, and Goodwin's arrows, which come in many different colors now. They come in 6 different colors. These are her brand new colors. But the arrows are priceless because they tell you where to cut and remind you where to cut. So that is great, and I use them on almost all my rulers. So the Quilter Select ruler that doesn't move is really great also. And if you like creative grids, and this one is great because it gives you a lot of different options. It's good. Finding your 1/4 inch seam. You need to find that, everybody. Even if your machine says it tells me where it is. I have everybody in my beginning quilt class put this in their machine, and once I drop it in, oftentimes their 1/4 inch ends up being a little bit different than what their machine is. It's amazing how many it is. But if you make the block without doing this, in the end, their block never comes out like everybody else's. You need to have that 1/4 inch seam allowance, so you need to find that. That's where this is, and this is very inexpensive. It's $6.
And every now and then, just like doing maintenance on your sewing machine or any other tool, you still need to calibrate it every now and then with that.
Absolutely. It's really good advice, Gino. And change your needle. How often do you guys change your needle? I'm not hearing anybody say anything. Oh, I bet you change it either when the needle breaks or it starts thumping on you because it's actually puncturing through your thread. So remember to change your needle every once in a while. More than once a year, more than when the needle breaks. So it's a new year, new needle. Do that. It's kind of like your smoke alarm. Just change it once in a while. The seam tape to me is invaluable, and it's very inexpensive. I believe it's $7.99, and there's a lot of footage on here, 10 yards. So it'll last you a long, long time. I know the roll that I just showed you by my machine, I've had for over a year. So it goes a long way, really, really long way. Fiskars used to and still is a very good scissors. This is only $18.99, and it's 2 scissors. And so the price, it's half price. And they are just wonderful. So, the ones that if you happen to have a child who uses your scissor or husband, you're not going to blow a rod and get really upset because they used your scissor because it's just a Fiskars. But they fit nice in your hands, and the price is so right. And they're really pretty. Because I showed you the one. The other one is by my machine, and I'll show you that one. And that one looks...
You've got the other scissors on the table yet, too.
It's pretty.
Oh, yes.
Isn't it gorgeous? Yeah, everybody said Valentine's Day is coming up pretty soon. These are wonderful little treat scissors to get. In many, many people's opinions, you can never have enough scissors. So there is that. This little wanding tool, and obviously I'm going to own that one, is wonderful. I love it because, first of all, it's grippy. It stays stuck wherever you... It's like all the rulers when I have you use grippy, but there's so much already on here from Creative Grids. It seriously doesn't move, you guys. And it's got your 45-degree right here, which is really great. So, all you have to do... What am I missing?
The scissors.
Oh, this one. This is Peter's favorite. He loves this because it's so stinking sharp, you guys. It's it's the Stork scissors. Your grandma had one. And then this is the highest quality. It's Tooltron, and it's only $8.29. Very, very reasonable, and it's super, super sharp. So for those little 1.5 inch corners, this is perfect. It's a wonderful antique-ish looking scissors, and it's just great. So there are some of the basic things, because if you look again at our table runner that we're doing tonight, it looks difficult, but it's not. And if you make a quilt out of this, it's really pretty. And that's what I think I love about all these table runners. They can very, very easily turn into a quilt. So There's
And the design wall that it's on, it's 60 by 72. So right now it's folded in half to sit on this other wall, and it drapes way below the.
So you have a beautiful design wall, and it's way cool because it really does work.
Mm-hmm.
Blocks don't fall off, and so it's kind of very cool. So nice present. So nice present to yourself if you want. You'll like it. It comes in two colors, white and gray. So whichever you want. Depends how light you want your room to become. Obviously, I told you many times, Kay Fawcett said we need to use gray because that brings out the true color in your fabrics. But it depends on your design studio. What kind of light are you looking at? Obviously, we should have good light, but there you go. All right, am I missing anything? This is the wonderful very first table in Heather's book. We have a couple kits left in the store, and Peter really thinks that he can make up more. So we're hoping.
Yeah, they might not have the same red fabric, but
Right.
we can still make up more
And if
kits.
you're a beginner, and I have one that doesn't form a line like this, it would make it even easier. But this is really, and it's a really great lesson for you to learn how to do this. That if you sew east and west, once you stitch it and turn it up, it's going to be going north and south. So if that makes sense to you. But it's really great. You should always be learning something. It's the beginning of the year. So this is your little lesson. You're going to learn that if you sew east and west, when you put it right side up, it's going to go north and south. So it's kind of a great thing. It was very, very fun table runner to make. And tomorrow I'll just sew it all together because I wanted you to see how you can play. Move your blocks around. Be scrappy if you want. Be more organized if you don't want to. Whatever you want to do, it's yours to play with. So tomorrow it's going to the quilter, and then it'll be hanging in the store. So there isn't a lot. The fabric that you need in the background, the red, is pretty much you're going to use you're going to use all of that. There's no leftovers. There are extra squares of all of your hearts. So if you want to practice making pot holders at home, do it. You'll be able to get a couple pot holders out for sure. So there's your Valentine's Day present to you or someone else. So have fun making it, you guys. If you have any questions, we're all at Gruber's. You can order all of this stuff online if you like, or give us a call. We'll gladly help you. And as a side note, Gruber's is hiring again. So if you are close enough and want to be a Gruber's girl,
or guy,
we'd love to have you because you have Peter and Eli right now, and they're both really great. But you guys have made it. We are so gratefully happy with our Facebook fans. Thank you so much, very much. But you've kept everybody really super busy. Thank you. We love that, and we are so grateful. And so, in closing, we'll see you tomorrow night, Thursday night, at Gruber's Quilt Shop, and tomorrow is Thrifty Thursday. So see what we will all show you. We're getting some really cool stuff at reasonable prices for you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.